What's going on, YouTube? I'm Brian with the Whiskey Library.
I'm Tim with the Whiskey Library.
And I'm Sniff with ScotchNSniff. And today we're going to be talking about brand new bottle offerings for 2017. Obviously, we don't have all the new bottle offerings for 2017.
That'd be tough.
And they wouldn't fit on this barrel.
No.
But we do have a bunch of the bottle offerings from 2017. So we're just going to roll through a few of them. And then I think we've got some comments about some of the maltiness. But I'm just going to start over here with this one because this one's so cool to me.
Yeah.
So it's not cool in the sense that, I mean, it does taste great. The Highland Park Valkyrie, and a lot of people, it's Edrington, so of course, you know, it's going to have marketing hype. But it tastes good, but who cares? None of that is important. Two of the bottles up here are just unique for different reasons. This, watch this. You've got a cap that's threaded, so when you push the cap down, it doesn't go down all the way, and then you twist it, and it threads the rest of the way.
Lock and seal.
Buy the Valkyrie just for that. Don't buy it for anything else. And when the next whiskey maker comes out that makes the same type of cap, throw it in the trash. Because they weren't first. If you're not first, you're last. Sorry.
That's right.
I want to go fast.
It's a great philosopher said that. All right, you guys.
Ricky Bobby.
Let's move on to some of these other ones.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that, some of the other ones that have come out here, obviously the barrel, their rye, their 001. I was really stoked with it. Obviously, it kind of is the perfect marriage of what we try to do with the Whiskey Library in terms of focusing on all types of whiskey, the bourbons, the ryes, but also the scotches and that maltiness. And so I know what they did here is they used, it's a rye, so it's 51%, but it's just 51% rye. The other 49%, I believe, is actually malted barley. Yeah. So it's this weird, funky flavor that I mean, I think it's actually, it's really good. It highlights, it really accentuates, I think, what the rye can be, surprisingly.
It's interesting talking with these guys because, I'm sure they've had just as much whiskey as I've had. So when you're first starting out in whiskey and you've had 10, 20, 30, 50 whiskeys, it's one thing to say, you know, you're working on developing your palate, but once you've had, like, I'd say easily 500, you start seeking out the whiskeys that are unique. You stop looking for sure. Oh, it's another this, it's another that, it's another scotch, it's another bourbon, it's another... You start looking for things like, wow, that really was memorable in my mind because it had some unique thing going on. And it's funny you say that about that barrel rye one because that's the reason I bought it. Somebody had told me like, oh, they did this really weird mix where they did on their mash bill. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge rye fan. That tastes so unique. Right, it's just like, all right, well, I can sip on this.
Well, that's and that's what I thought. You know, I thought that you and Tim would actually like it a little bit more than maybe you guys would like other ryes or other bourbons. Not to say you don't appreciate them, but I mean the content of malted barley in here is kind of, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, who would have put 49% malted barley with a rye?
And it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them for figuring out. I mean, I think that's one of the cool things that Barrel and some of these other places are doing. Obviously, we got that front row of 3 OneEight bottles. I mean, and they're doing some fun stuff too. But I mean, we've got all sorts of stuff. I mean, the Balvenie Peat Week.
Actually,
you guys were there, right?
Yeah, I'm sipping on the Peat Week right here. It is. I was lucky enough to have had that a couple months ago at a nice tasting we did over at Jack Rose. But one of the nice things about this Peat Week is that, as anybody who's had Balvenie knows, is that it's a very mellow, approachable flavor profile each time you open the bottle. And lots of times, especially like Wally, thinks that peat is something that's just kind of overwhelming and not enjoyable, as far as drinking is concerned. But this one really combines the approachable, sweet, mellow flavors that you typically find in whiskeys from Balvenie, like the Caribbean Cask, but also layers on top of that some nice peat smoke flavor. But it's not the Isla medicinal type of peat smoke you might be used to. So it's a really nice eye-opener as far as that distillery is concerned.
Well, and you guys were talking earlier about, I think also Balvenie also makes the 17, which is kind of a peated cask. So I mean, I think I think the 14 kind of comes in at like that. It's even a softer expression from what I taste.
They're pretty close. That again, so a lot of people, especially on Instagram, I mean, everybody knows I'm not a huge peat fan,
right?
But at the same time, I just want it to be balanced, and that's not too much to ask. Bruichladdich does a good job. Yeah. Bunnahabhain does such a good job. There's so many brands that do a great job. Balvenie's another one. Balvenie does a good job of balancing sweet with just enough peat to keep you interested, but not so much that you're getting, you're not getting Ardbegged in the face. You're not getting Lafroigged in the face, literally. Like, hey kid, you want some Band-Aids and some rubber bands to eat? It's like, no, I don't. I don't enjoy tasting tar and asphalt. Like, those are not pleasant descriptions to me. When Ardbeg's like, our new one tastes like squid ink. Like, oh,
How
great.
delicious.
I'll give it a shot.
But like, I mean, there's so many good brands, and not to again bump Edrington, but the Highland Park, like coming in at 2.5 ppm or right around like 3-5 ppm, whatever they do, it's perfect. To me, that's exactly like that's the balance you should be looking for peat and sweet. It's not so you're beginners and people, even some of us who've had tons of whiskey, it's not so overwhelming that you're like, oh, well, here we go, another peat bomb.
Well, and it's also a different. I mean, what Tim was saying earlier. I mean, what Highland Park does, you know, the peat they use or the peat that they get, you know, that influence is so different, right? Because I mean, they're almost the exact opposite of where Isla is, right? Yeah. Isla's way down in the south, and you know, Highland Park is pretty much as north as you can get. You know, up in the Orkneys. I mean, so two completely different types of peats that are kind of influencing the spirit a little bit there. I mean, I think that, you know, we could probably have a whole segment on peat, and maybe, you know, and the influence of them from, you know, using a peated cask to using peat 2 ppm to like, you know, 300 ppm, and kind of finding the balance in between there. Where I know you're kind of 10 and under, and we're probably closer to 100. So we'll figure that out later.
It's not for everybody. That's why there's a lot of different whiskey out there, like we're showing on this table.
Absolutely, and I think one of the kind of cool things here, you know, in DC is, you know, OneEight. So OneEight is, you know, local distillery. They've been around for a couple years, and they just this year released both their first rye and their first bourbon. Now, the cool thing about the bourbon that Wally's opening up here is it is the first bourbon to be distilled, aged, and bottled in DC since at least Prohibition. I mean, I tried to do a little bit of research on my own, and there's not a whole lot of evidence that there was actually bourbon made in DC before Prohibition. At least, you know, the bourbon, the legal definition of it. So we were really excited, obviously, to be able to try this and to be able to share a bottle here today. But I mean, I think that you know, they're coming out with some great stuff, and again, you know, to talk about malt, there's a lot of malt that goes into here, both malted barley and malted rye. So
malted rye really gives a unique flavor and a unique aroma. It's just not something you can capture with another grain.
You can smell the rye in this.
Oh yeah.
Like, I get that it's a bourbon, but it's rye forward.
Well, and I think you're getting a lot of that rye forwardness. You know, so I mean, it is young. It's just a little over 2 years.
I mean,
but it's the malted rye.
How old is Midwinter's Night Dram?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
This nose is just like it.
Very similar.
It's got that.
Which is interesting because this isn't finished. Yeah. Well, you know what I think it is? I really do think that, you know, and I know I've probably said this word, you know, 50 times in the past 30 seconds, but it's the malted rye. That malted rye does something, and it's not only in OneEight's rye, but obviously it's in their bourbon as well.
Wow, that's so soft.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It's super enjoyable.
Yeah, for a 2-ish year.
Can't wait
bourbon.
to see what's going to come from them, you know, in the next couple of years.
And it's nice that they're local too. That's awesome.
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward from that one since that's so tasty. Again, like I said before, you have tons and tons and tons of different whiskeys that you've tried, and so because of that, you're looking for unique things. I get a little skeptical when brands reach out and they want to send things to me, so I get kind of shifty about it. And then sometimes, to be honest, I just give away whatever they send, and I just go buy it myself, just so I can be completely impartial. I've already bought another bottle of this. Thank you, Jura. They sent me this Jura 10. I was like, okay, it's Jura. I have their 95 boutique. I have, you know, their 21 year, which is their 21 year. If you leave that, pour it in a glass and just let it sit for a little while, it literally smells like the malt of the distillery. It's like
wow.
You just walked fresh into a distillery in Scotland, and like that smell you get, oh my god, it smells just like that. It's delicious. But their 10, this new 10 is like a double cask. It's not the Origins. It's the new one that they released. That's made, what is it? They used half peated, half not peated, and matured it in American white oak barrels, and then finished aged in Oloroso sherry. It tastes good. Great. But what makes it unique is the mouthfeel. This is like eating a stick of butter, all right? Like if you're looking for a unique whiskey, this is unique in that term. The viscosity of it, it's like you just put, like, this is gonna sound bad, I guess, if you're not into whiskeys, but if you love that like mouth coating feel, it's like motor oil in your mouth. That's how buttery this
very
is.
Thick and oily and viscous.
It's so viscous.
And really allows a nice finish to come through there as well, right? When you have that thick liquid in your mouth, it's just great.
This totally not phrasing. This totally does it. So, all right, moving on. The only thing I've avoided on the table, which is also from Edgington Group, like Highland Park, is the Macallans. And Macallan has really just outdid themselves this year. You know, I wish there were other brands that I wish we could talk about, like Glenfiddich. There's their new ice wine casks that I just saw. If you guys haven't seen it, Scotch Test Dummies and Scotch Trooper did a quick video. Yeah. It's not quick. Their videos are like an hour long, but they did a video about it, and they did a tasting. And it sounds okay, but part of me wants it for the rarity. Like I heard we're getting like almost nothing in America and not till like March of 2018.
Right, yeah, I hear it's,
But
I hear it's a new release, but
just
not
Glenfiddich,
coming out.
So, yeah, exactly. So I like Glenfiddich. I can't help it. And I want a ceramic bottle, ceramic topper. That sounds fun. But so we'll move on to these other scotches, obviously, that were released this year. But Macallan outdid themselves. First, they came out earlier this year with the double cask, which is it's like a honeyed balance that they have. Yep. You guys have tried it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah, we tried it at that tasting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I think it's a great addition to, their core range. And it comes in at an approachable price point for most people.
Definitely, especially for Macallan.
Right.
And it's something that, whether you're into Scotch or not, it's going to be a very approachable bottle. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot of distilleries do right now, is to find something that will reach people outside of those typical single malt Scotch drinkers, especially the bourbon drinkers, because that's been a growing market, a market that we've seen just a massive explosion in. And there are a lot of distilleries who are taking advantage of American oak, ex-bourbon casks, to combine that with their typical sherry age profile to create some really unique expressions.
Trying to get some of that bubble, that
bourbon. But this one, Wally, I'm a huge fan of the number 3.
The Macallan edition number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you want to talk about innovative and kind of reaching out and using the Macallan brand to kind of do something really funky and really cool. I forget the name of the gentleman who they partner with, but kind of
Roja Dove.
There you go, master perfumer, right? I mean,
I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's probably like Roja Dove.
Well, whatever it is, the man definitely knows his aromas and his smells, because that's really all you need to do with this. Obviously, drink it, but just smelling that to me was worth the bottle.
Yep, it definitely knows this extremely well. I mean, so if you guys don't know, the Macallan edition number 1, edition number 2, edition number 3, you can go to ScotchNSniff.com. We have reviews on 1 and 2. But the 1 was a showcasing of Bob Delgarno's ability to pick different types of sherry casks. So they had 8 different types of sherry casks in that. It's somewhere up here. And they had the edition number 2, which was their collaboration with Cellar de Can Roca, which were like, it's a number 1 restaurant in the world a few times over. It's Michelin rated, where they got the 3 brothers from there. Amazing story if you just read about it online. They have an incredible story. But so these 3 brothers, they got them together. One's a pastry chef, one's a main chef, and one's, I forget what the other one specializes in. They got them together, made them pick barrels, and here we are with, the edition number 2. Edition number 3 was about picking a perfumer. Edition number 4,
I don't know what that is
I
yet.
can't remember. One of their reps online definitely leaked
or spilled.
Yeah, they definitely spilled the beans about what it was supposed to be. It's something unique too. But yeah, let's move on to the last one from Macallan that came out this year. I just got a couple of bottles of this, but it's the Macallan Classic Cut. And if you've seen our video, which hopefully should be out before this, but if you've seen our video on the Classic Cut, we actually did a live tasting between the 3 of us where we compared the Classic Cut to the original cask strength.
Noticeably different, but very good in its own right.
But yeah, so these are all the new bottles that are coming out in 2017. These bottles are out now. You can go to your stores and pick them up. But if you go ahead and just go to your local store, give it a shot, try finding them for yourself, and then let us know what you think. Like, just comment down below. Let us know, like, oh, I picked up the Jura and I thought it was super buttery too, or I picked up the OneEight and I was like just completely amazed by it. Just let us know in the comments. Yeah. And then you guys, is there a handle that you guys have?
Sure. So on Instagram, we're at whiskey_library_DC, and you can always find us online at www.whiskeylibrarydc.com.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.